Imagine being a mob boss who treats your nephew like a son, protects him from consequences over and over, and grooms him to potentially take over your empire. Now imagine that same nephew betraying you constantly for 6 seasons. Most people think Christopher had a few bad moments. The show that made Tony look bad, the drug problems, maybe that time he almost talked to the feds. But here's what everyone misses. Christopher was betraying Tony almost constantly from season 1 until Tony killed him in that car. And the craziest part? Christopher genuinely believed he was loyal the whole time. So in this video, we're going over every single time Christopher Moltisanti betrayed Tony Soprano. Christopher's Hollywood problem 3 different times. Across 3 different seasons, Christopher does the same thing. He exposes the family to outsiders because he wants to be seen as a real mobster with a story to tell. It starts in season 2. Christopher gets shot in a failed hit, and while he's recovering, Tony visits him, kills the guys responsible, and makes sure Christopher knows the family has his back. So what does Christopher do with that second chance? He starts writing a screenplay about the mob, using real stories and real dynamics from his own crew. When Paulie finds the script and reads it, he's furious. The character based on him gets whacked in the story. Tony has to sit Christopher down and explain why documenting their criminal enterprise for entertainment is a problem. Christopher gets defensive instead of apologizing, like Tony's the unreasonable one. That same season, Christopher meets the actor Jon Favreau at a poker game and immediately starts running his mouth about mob business, real violence, real names, just to impress a Hollywood guy. Tony has to pull him aside and tell him to shut up, but the damage is already done. A famous actor with connections everywhere now knows details about the DiMeo family because Christopher gave it away for free just to feel important. Then in season 6, it escalates into something much worse. Christopher writes and produces an actual movie, Cleaver, about a mobster who sees a therapist, cheats on his wife, and gets murdered by his own resentful nephew. It's obviously Tony. Christopher screens it for the entire family, forces Tony to sit through his own murder fantasy on screen, and then lies to his face when confronted about it. Same impulse every time. Christopher can't resist turning their world into content, and every time Tony has to clean up the exposure. What if one of those screenplay pages, that poker table conversation, or that movie premiere had reached the wrong person? One nosy producer, one ambitious journalist, one Fed pulling the thread, and the DiMeo family's operations are sitting out in the open. Number 2. The Intervention Disaster Season 4. Christopher's addiction is spiraling and the family stages an intervention. Tony, Silvio, Paulie, even Adriana, all trying to save his life before he destroys himself. Christopher responds by attacking everyone in the room. He calls out Paulie for his mom dying, mocks Silvio's hair, and, worst of all, throws Tony's therapy sessions in his face in front of the entire crew. Then he swings at Tony in their world. Seeing a therapist is weakness that could undermine Tony's authority, and Christopher exposes it out of pure spite because he's mad about getting called on his drug problem. Tony could have had him killed for putting hands on a boss. Instead, he restrains himself, pays for rehab, and gets nothing in return. Number 3. The FBI Interrogation Season 2. Christopher gets arrested on a weapons charge, and the FBI offers him a deal: cooperate and walk, stay quiet, and do time. And Christopher actually considers it. You can see him doing the math on freedom versus loyalty. He doesn't flip. Everyone treats him like a hero for keeping quiet, but the hesitation itself is the betrayal. Once someone even thinks about flipping, the FBI knows there's a crack to exploit, and sure enough, they keep coming back, pressuring Adriana, digging into Christopher's life because they sensed the weakness in that room. Tony should have killed him right then. Instead, Christopher gets another 4 seasons to be a liability. Number 4. The Adriana situation. The worst betrayal isn't Christopher eventually giving Adriana up, it's the months he hid her FBI situation from Tony first. The feds flip Adriana on drug charges and force her into wearing wires around made guys at family events. When she finally breaks down and tells Christopher, he doesn't go to Tony. He sits on it for months and even plans to run away with her rather than report an active informant sitting inside their circle. The only reason he tells Tony at all is that he realizes he's too addicted to the life to actually leave. When he finally comes clean, Tony has no choice. Adriana knows too much, and Silvio takes her out to the woods. Christopher's response? He blames Tony, holds a grudge, and later makes Cleaver partly as revenge for the death of the informant he should have reported immediately. What if he'd actually run with her? The FBI grabs them both, and to avoid life in prison, Christopher hands over everyone: Tony, the crew, every murder. Number 5. The drug addiction underneath every other betrayal is the one running constantly from season 1 on. Christopher's addiction. Being made means the family comes first. Before your wife, your kids, your own life. Christopher breaks that oath every time he gets high, because for an addict, the drugs always come first. The pattern repeats for years. Tony needs him for something critical, and Christopher is knotted out and useless. He relapses, cries, apologizes, goes to rehab, seems better, then lies and uses again. Every relapse is a moment where he could say something stupid, miss something important, or become a liability someone else could exploit, and he knows it every time and does it anyway. Number 6. Shooting the Waiter Season 2. A waiter makes a harmless joke at dinner, and Christopher, likely high, definitely on edge, follows him outside afterward and shoots him in the head over nothing. Now there's a civilian body with zero connection to mob business, and Tony has to make it disappear and manage the fallout. A random, reckless murder that accomplishes nothing except forcing Tony to clean up after him again. Number 7. Trying to kill Polly Season 4. Paranoid and high, Christopher becomes convinced Polly is undermining him with Tony, so he plans to kill him. A made guy, a captain, decades in the family, and Christopher is ready to break one of the family's most fundamental rules over drug-fueled suspicion. He only backs off at the last second. If Tony had ever found out, Christopher would have been killed on the spot. Number 8. The final relapse Season 6. Christopher's supposedly sober, with a baby, daughter, and a career producing movies. Then he relapses, gets behind the wheel high with Tony in the car, and drives them off the road. Tony survives. Christopher is barely breathing. And in the back seat, Tony sees his infant daughter's car seat. Proof that Christopher will never choose the family, or even his own child, over the drugs. The pattern was never going to stop. So Tony reaches over, pinches his nose shut, and ends it. So those are the betrayals, turning the family into Hollywood material, exposing Tony's therapy out of spite, hesitating in an FBI interrogation room, hiding an informant for months to protect her, a lifetime of choosing drugs over reliability, murdering a civilian on impulse, plotting to kill a made guy over paranoia, and finally, driving high with his own child's car seat in the back. But here's what ties all of it together. Christopher was never actually loyal to Tony. He was loyal to the idea of Tony, the mentor who'd protect him and advance his career. When it came to actual sacrifice, Christopher failed every single time, and Tony kept forgiving him anyway, because he loved him like a son. That's the real tragedy of The Sopranos. Tony loved Christopher enough to overlook betrayals that would have gotten anyone else killed. And Christopher took that love for granted until Tony finally had enough. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and have a good one. Peace.